What is going on, friends and familia? Welcome to my sweet new studio here for the Carlos Whittaker podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, or maybe if you're just listening in your ears, you may be able to hear a little bit of difference as to where my studio is now versus where I normally record from, because I'm actually I'm going to swing the camera. Oh, wait, who are all these random strangers just walking by me? That's right. I'm not in my home studio. I'm in the can I not speak English? The Denver International Airport. And this is so classic 2021 Carlos before I had a team in Whitney from Wisconsin. I recorded my intro and the outro and the ads and everything before I left, but left those recordings on my Rodecaster Pro in my basement. I do have the video, but it just wouldn't serve well without the audio. And I thought to myself, this is fun. This is just way more fun anyway. So welcome to episode 18 of the Carlos Whittaker podcast. And today's a very special episode. Today is an episode that I go way back in my feels. Oh, I'm dead serious. Like, you will see the giddiness inside of me as I begin to talk about some things from way in my past. I know this is like 2 historical podcasts in a row where I go back into the history annals of my life. But this one specifically, I'm interviewing today Kristian Stanfill and Brett Younker, who are 2 of the voices from Passion Music, really, melody, and there's a few others that lead that movement. And if you're anything like me, you have been moved in some way, shape, or form by the music that Passion has put out over the last 25 years. That's crazy to say. So like, when I was young and hip and like the age bracket that Passion and Louie and Shelley were ministering to, that I was leading worship at a small church in Southern California. So all of the songs that I was singing were Chris Tomlin songs, Dave Crowder songs, Charlie Hall songs, Candy Pearson Shelton songs, like all of these voices that really helped shape the way that I would lead worship came from Passion. Then Hillsong kind of popped up a little bit later here in America. And so here's the deal. Yes, Passion has a new record that's out, but what I really wanted to do was lean into like the history of Passion, lean into some of those old songs that many of us, some of you, this may be new to you, but used to sing and lead. And gosh, man, it's like, and I talk about this in there with Brett and Kristian, but I just feel like I'm the age now where I should be watching Gaither Homecoming videos, but instead of Gaither Homecoming videos, I'm going to be watching like Chris Tomlin, Charlie Hall, and Dave Crowder videos. Like the 50-year-olds that used to lead worship when they were 25 alongside me. Just, I don't know, man, it pulls at my heart. And so I'm so excited for you to lean into this conversation with Kristian Stanfill, Brett Younker, and myself as we lean into what I believe was probably some of the most impactful music that's ever been released. Enjoy this conversation. Okay, Carlos Whittaker podcast familia. I am sitting here. I'm just looking at my computer screen when I see these 2 faces, I just start smiling because there's just a lot of history. There's a lot of memory. I mean, Kristian, you used to lead worship when I was leading worship, which is a long time ago, which means you've been leading worship a long time, with like khaki pants on. Like, we weren't allowed to wear anything but khaki pants on the North Point stage.
That's true.
And
no
like
denim. No denim.
No denim.
No denim.
Back in the day. And
which
Brett,
I've swung the opposite,
the
complete opposite direction now. All I own
are
is
you
denim.
Like all denim?
Yeah,
I love denim. Are you doing the double denim thing like now? Are you doing
I have been known to do double denim. Yep. Double denim dad. That's who I am.
Double denim. Yeah. Double denim dad. That is great. And then so we've got Kristian Stanfill, we've got Brett Younker. Brett, I've known you almost just as long. Your hair has gotten longer the longer that I've known you. And you've turned into a grown man. You're a grown man now. You are a child worship leader.
Thank you.
And you are no longer a child worship leader. You're a grown man worship leader.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much.
Biology is working in Brett Younker's body.
Yes,
it's all growing. He's growing.
It's incredible.
Hair.
He's growing up.
It's all working.
It's really good. It's so good. Well, listen, I'm excited to talk to you both today for numerous reasons. One, just to catch up, but 2, because you're part of what I can say now as I just turned 50 years old. Okay, so like I am 50 years old, and
Congrats.
When I say that, thank you. I'm pumped. The 50's been the best year of my life. When I say that, it will be. I think back to how long, so I used, for people, again, a lot of people that are listening to this have no idea that I even did this, but I used to lead worship. I was a worship leader. That's like what I did. Most people that have jumped on kind of my world in the last few years just see me, as an author or a speaker, but worship leading was like my entire
Familia.
Or they're in the Insta Familia. It was like my entire thing. And I was on staff at a church for 10 years in Southern California from 1997 to 2007. Okay, so you got to hear like those were like my formative worship leading years. And those also, I feel like, were the formative years of the movement that you're a part of right now when it was created. So you both are part of the really, I'm going to say the passion movement, because that's really what it is. It is 25 years strong at this point, right?
Math.
I think so.
I'm not with two math wizards.
I'll tell you this. Yeah. We'll let our listeners do the math. It started in 1997.
There you go.
Okay. Well, perfect. So, this is great. So here's my question to start off with. You both are carrying the mantle of something that has been going on for long before you were a part of it. What does that feel like? Do you feel pressure with that? Do you, just kind of tell me what that feels like for you to know that, wow, this is a movement that started on the shoulders of other people and now has been placed on ours, and then at some point is going to be placed on somebody else. Process that with me for a few minutes.
Brett, how's that feel?
How does that feel? I was going to defer to you, my friend, Kristian.
Oh, you're both going to have to answer it, so.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, well, one, congrats on being 50. That is amazing.
Yes.
I just turned 40, which is kind of, it is mind-blowing.
Yeah.
It's weird. But it's actually awesome. I kind of agree with you there. But
absolutely.
I will say this, Kristian and I, we've known each other for a long time. We actually met in 1997.
Yeah.
Wow.
97 seems to be the theme of our podcast so far. And, so far, we're just on the cusp.
Yes.
But we met as we were 7th and 8th grade, and we were in a youth group, and some friends in our youth group introduced us to Passion. And the music of Passion ultimately led me to the message of Passion, which was that Jesus is central and all of life is meant for the glory of God. And that's actually the best news for my life, and that's what's going to give me satisfaction. And if I could leverage any bit of who I am for that, my life could count for something that's greater than myself. And as a college student, that was so compelling to me. It's actually still really compelling to me today. And so I think in some ways I feel just as much a part of it as I did as a college student. It's just it's somewhere along the line, a church out of this movement started in our hometown. Our heroes moved in, and we got to see, some of the people that we looked up to, people like Chris Tomlin, Matt Redman, Nathan and Christy Nockels, and obviously people like Louie and Shelley have been massive influences in our life. And so to be able to see how do they lead, how do they shepherd, what do they lead people toward, how do they carry the gospel, that's been one of the greatest gifts. And then just to step into, it's definitely been clunky to step into our own space. But I think those things that we were able to watch and learn have really formed and informed who we are, who I am as a worship leader, as a pastor, as a songwriter, as a follower of Jesus. And so in some ways it just feels like a continuation of what God was doing through the movement for me as a college student. It's just kind of kept walking in that space. So
love that. I love that. Yeah. How about you, Kristian?
Yeah, I would agree with all of that. I think the thing that was magnetizing to me about Passion when I was in high school, somebody gave me the Passion 99 CD. Brett and I were leading worship, in middle school and high school together. And we were starting to see God do some pretty phenomenal stuff in our youth ministry. And somebody gave me this CD. And I just remember, I just felt the power and the presence of God coming off of these songs in waves, like in a way that I had never experienced before, listening to songs. And just, yeah, like Brett said, just immediately magnetized to the heart and the message of passion. And then to get to be a part of it now for, nearly 20 years has just been so wild. And it feels like a stewardship, it's something that God is doing. And it's just like you or anybody else listening right now, we all have a part to play in the story of God on earth right now. And he's inviting us to participate with him in what he is doing. And we get to be a part of it with passion, and it's amazing. And so now, to be where we are and to be able to contribute music and songs and language and leadership is pretty wild. And then also we're starting to see, like what you just said, maybe some of those voices who are going to carry the movement of passion into the future, whatever that looks like. We're starting to see a lot of that take shape now. And to be honest, it's exhilarating. Really? It's so exhilarating. Yeah. It's so fun to watch and to see. And Brett and I both are all for it.
When I started podcasting, an online store was the furthest thing from my mind. But guess what? Now that I'm selling Don't Stand on Issues, Walk with People shirts, I found that it's so easy, all because I use Shopify. Now listen, Shopify is the global commerce platform that helps you sell at every stage of your business. From the straight up launch your online shop stage, like the side hustle stage, or even if you have brick and mortar shops. Shopify helps you turn browsers into buyers with the internet's best converting checkout. Listen to this, up to 36% better compared to other leading commerce platforms. Shopify powers 10% of all e-commerce in the United States of America. That is crazy. So listen, you don't have to just sell your own stuff anymore. With Shopify's collective, you can curate products and sell from brands that you love. I'm telling you, this is where things start to change. This is what I want you to do. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/Carlos, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/Carlos now to grow your business no matter what stage you're in. Shopify.com/Carlos. That's amazing. It is exhilarating to see a generation rising up, not just being ministered to, but then taking the message and which is what you've done. I was dinking through a lot of the old records before, and every time I do, I started yesterday. I probably listened to 27 songs from like Passion 97 through, awesome. I'm like crying, right? I'm literally like, when Candy starts singing One Pure and Holy Passion, I literally you guys remember that? You remember that moment, and it takes you back to like stories in your life that those songs, kind of helped you through, so like, I'd say like that one, like To Speak Your Name was another one. Like when that song came on, when I first heard that again, I think that was like the Orange Passion live album. We did that one at our church a long time. You Are My King, like just all these old songs. I want to ask you two, what are some of those early songs that ministered to your hearts and really were like anchors in maybe your story? What were some of those early songs that came through the Passion movement that you would say, like, if it came on right now, all the goosebumps would come on, you would just get transferred back to that space? What are some of those songs?
The first song that comes to mind for me is Sweep Me Away by Charlie Hall.
My God, same.
So Brett. Well, and this is cool. This is cool, actually.
Cosign.
Brett and I were in college, and it was the Passion Experience Tour. It was coming through Atlanta, the Atlanta Civic Center. And Brett came home from South Carolina, right?
Yeah, well, I'm a year younger than you, Kristian.
You were in Atlanta.
I was a senior. I was a senior in high school.
I came home from Birmingham. I was at Samford University, and we met at the Civic Center, and ended up like down center, front row.
Literal front row.
Literal front row.
Okay, literal front row. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, and I will say this little Easter egg. If you look at the cover of that record, you can see Brett and I on the cover with our hands up. We're just
Our Love Is Loud.
Our Love Is Loud is the name of the record.
Project. Yes.
But I remember that night Charlie leading "Sweep Me Away," and it was a moment, that I'll never forget. Just being in a room with that many people, and Charlie singing this song, and just being so consumed by the presence of God, the power of God in that moment. And then even after that night, though, just that song becoming a prayer for me personally, as I would pursue Jesus on my own, that prayer, it got in my vernacular. Like, oh God, here I am. Suddenly I feel you holding me. I want to draw near to you in that way. Sweep me away. I want to be consumed by you in every way. So that song, and then even in that night, it was the first time I think Chris played Famous One, and I remember the first time he played Famous One, thinking like, I didn't know it could sound like this. I didn't know you could write like these anthems, and it's like 6/8, and it just feels like huge and wide, and the whole room is singing, and it unlocked something for me as a worshiper, but also as a songwriter and a worship leader.
Yeah,
that was a pretty special night.
And Kristian, were you writing songs then at that point?
Yes, I was writing songs. They were not very good, Carlos. They were not very good. But I was writing songs. I was just starting to figure out like writing worship songs. So yeah, I was in college trying to figure that out.
Awesome. How about you, Brett?
Yeah, I mean, "Sweep Me Away" was definitely one of those early songs, and that moment was so significant. I don't think I'd ever been in an environment where the worship was so transcendent, that just kind of pulled you up out of what the here and now, and it really wasn't about the event, and it really wasn't about the worship leader. But I mean, it was just one of those early moments for me where I'm in a room full of people, but it feels like it's me and Jesus, just face to face. And so that was definitely a significant one. I think in that era too, Enough was all of you is more than enough for all of me.
Oh, he starts just on the acoustic, just one string at a time. All of you is more. Oh man, yeah, come on.
I mean, geez. Oh gosh. "Wonderful King" was an old Crowder song that just really, "The Wondrous Cross," I think too, and some of that One Day era. Were some big songs. "Give Us Clean Hands" was always one that just really went right through me, and that was just such a heart desire of like, God, I want to be that generation. I want to be in that generation that seeks the face of God, and so purify me, purify my heart, purify who I am, and "Hungry." I think that was a whole vineyard, maybe a vineyard song. But, but it made its way. Some of those early Vineyard songs made their way on those early Passion records too, and so. But then you have all the Matt Redman stuff. I mean, "Better Is One Day," and just totally. I don't know, Carlos. This whole podcast could be devoted towards.
I know.
That
well,
era.
I kind of half wanted that too, but I'm so deep in my feels with just the movement that you're a part of, and just how it legitimately impacted my life. Some of the most like when I went through my anxiety, like at the very beginning, I literally had to stop leading worship in 2002 for an entire year because I couldn't get on stage without having a panic attack. And those songs were the songs that like pulled me through, again, Enough, like all of these songs were the ones that really pulled me through. And so, there's such deep reverence in my heart for those things. And what's funny is I think to myself, and as you two are 40 and 41 or however, and as you age gracefully to where I am, and I age gracefully into the next decade, it's funny because I used to see my dad. I don't know if you're, if you have people in your family that did this, but my dad I would find him in, I'd come downstairs at like 6 a.m. for something, and he was sitting on his recliner watching Gaither homecoming videos. And he would be sitting, this is what he would be doing. He'd be sitting there singing these songs, crying, like just tears coming, like he was just worshiping. And I used to kind of roll my eyes like, oh my gosh, Dad, these old songs, like this is so, and I find myself now, like, just yesterday as I'm listening to these songs, and I'm in my space in the living room. My 18-year-old son kind of walks in, and I'm like, I'm forgiven. He's like, what is that, Dad? And I'm just like, I'm having my own Passion Homecoming video moment. You
Wow.
know?
That's awesome.
Isn't it so cool though how like the Lord will use songs and lyrics your entire life to bring you back to Him? And you know, there's a lot of people that listen to my podcast that don't have the same faith as we do, don't share the same faith, don't have the same worldview or perspective. But I always want to make sure that people know just how much you can connect to God through music. If you have a hard time connecting to God, you know, if just listening to a sermon, if you have a hard time connecting to God through whatever it may be, music, I honestly believe, is the path. And that's why it's been so, you know, incredible to watch that it just hasn't stopped in 25 years. 50,000 college students still come. Why? Because they want to hear the word of God and they want to connect through music in these moments of worship, which you had one on this last record. I was watching the live stream. You had something happen that again goes back to the Better's One Day record. That song was actually recorded and sung. Is it Agnes Day?
Yeah.
I never say that word right. It was literally sung like back in the day, and then it happened again. So both of you just kind of tell me what happened in the room. I wasn't in the room. I had so many friends in the room. Talk to us about that moment that happened this year or this last year at the Passion Conference.
Yeah. Well, I mean, first of all, just to talk about that song, I mean, that song is nearly 30 years old, and I think it is 30 years old. I think maybe this year, but it's amazing to see how that song has continued to open the door for earth to sing heaven's song. You know, that is heaven's language in that song. And something really powerful and special happens when earth sings the language of heaven. And so really, really grateful to Michael W. Smith just for being a vessel and like an open channel for that song to come through him. But yeah, that last morning at Passion, it was really special. You know, it wasn't something that we had talked about. It wasn't something that we had planned on. It felt like the right move in the moment. And I'm really grateful that we took that step together and took our hands off the plan for a solid 20 minutes. And we all had a sense that God was doing something holy and special and different and particular and specific in the room, and we were just going to let it go. And you know, I think the thing, Carlos, for us though, like as we've revisited that moment, the thing that I keep going back to is the way that our team prepared and made ourselves ready for whatever God wanted to do at Passion Conference, and we had a sense that God wanted to do something different and special in these days. We weren't sure what it was going to look like or feel like, but we just knew we wanted to be a part of it and prepared. And so our team as a whole just prepared really well, and we were ready for it. And you know, just so much got transferred in that moment. I've had so many conversations with different people who were in the room or watched on the stream, you know, like you, and it's just so cool to see how God was speaking and revealing and shaping us in that moment. It was wow, very, very cool.
Yeah, you know, you talk about the language of heaven, and the record is called Call from Heaven, Call on Heaven. Call on Heaven. Call on Heaven is what you title a record, Brett. You've got the theology degree. You like what does that mean? Like wait, call on heaven, for just the listener that's listening is like, wait a second, what does that mean? I can do that? Like how is that? Like unpack that a little bit.
Yeah. Well, you know, the core verse of Passion comes out of Isaiah 2:6-8 that says, "Yes, Lord, walking in the way of your truth, we wait eagerly for you, for your name and your renown are the desire of our souls." And that's the heartbeat of Passion, to say, one, yes, Lord. I mean, before anything, we're just already saying yes because you're God and we're not. Yeah. And we have a realization of that. We've caught a vision of that. But we're waiting on you and we're hungry for you and your name and your renown. So your fame on the earth, your glory, we want to see you more. We want to experience you. and we want to see your gospel go forward on the earth. And so I think that call in heaven is that hunger to realize we live in a broken world. People are separated from God and they don't know him. And so as a generation, and you're seeing this right now in this wave of 18 to 25-year-olds, a real hunger for something that's right and something that's true. And there's a lot of confusion. And what Jesus wants to do right now is to speak a lot of clarity into the confusion. And so I think what Call in Heaven, that banner, is to say, this isn't, just a festival. This isn't a circus. This gathering is a holy, solemn assembly where a generation is coming together to truly seek God. And he was very kind to us in a way that, like we've been talking about, Kristian and I have been going to Passion Gathering since we were in college. And so I have not experienced the power and the presence of Jesus like we did that last morning in Mercedes-Benz and during that moment. And I just think that the people are hungry, and I think God was kind. I think those were some of those two factors there,
It's so crazy. It's so cool because my 25 years ago, I was 25. And now I've got an 18, 20, and 21-year-old. And so they're literally like target demographic for what you're doing, And so like for me, like to have this conversation and to know like, well, Kristian, you've got, I think you've got a teenager now. Like I think if memory serves me, you got two, talk to us for just a second about your heart for just this rising generation, because I know that I'm not in any way worried about their heart and their passion for God. I look at my daughters, I look at who they're dating, I look at the passion, and I just feel like it's the fire is beginning to burn even brighter, even hotter. And what are you seeing? Because you're legitimately in front of this generation a lot. And so like I get to see it in my home because I'm living with them. But what do you see in front of you right now that is not trending the wrong direction, but is trending towards revival and calling on heaven?
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, I agree with what Brett was just saying. There's a hunger. I think hunger is a good word. There's a hunger and a thirst for God and a spirit of worship that's blowing through the church and through this generation right now. And I think, I think repentance is a good word. Repentance means to turn around and move in a different direction, and Brett and I have been on college campuses over the last few months. We've been to Auburn and Tuscaloosa. We'll be in Knoxville, Tennessee next week. We've been to Athens, or we weren't actually in Athens, but anyway, thousands of college students are coming, and the message that's being preached is a message of repentance. Turn from your sin. Come to the cross. You can be free. You can be clean through the blood of Jesus. And that is as real as it gets. And students want something that's real. This generation wants something that's authentic, that's genuine, that's sturdy and durable. And they're realizing that everything that they've listened to or run to that the world is offering them is anything but durable. It's anything but sturdy. It's shaky and it's flaky. But they're seeing in Jesus something that lasts and that's real. Yeah. And man, it's just been so cool to watch at Passion, and then even in the aftermath of Passion, students coming in large numbers coming to the cross. And they're saying, I want to turn away from my sin. I want to live a holy life set apart to God. Yeah. And they're finding this abundant life. It's abundant life. It's water that satisfies. It's bread that satisfies. And so I think you asked the question, what are we seeing? We're seeing a hunger for God and a desire for something that's real. And
Wow.
it doesn't get any more real than Jesus.
Yeah. And it's so not complicated when you unpack it like that. I just love the simplicity of turn from sin, run to Jesus, and life gets restored and abundance comes to you. There, and again, I even think, in evangelical America, sometimes it can get super complicated what we're trying to explain. That the answer is, and Brett, I'll let you have kind of the last word with that.
Well, yeah, I think you're right. I think, and that's one of the things that has been so awesome to watch from Passion over the years, because we've seen lots of waves of 18 to 25 year olds. If you think from, when you were in that window, age window in the late 90s to when we were there in the 2000s, and obviously the world, like the world is shifting and changing. And so I just think that's just what you see is what I've always loved and been grateful for with Louie and Shelley is just a real commitment to the simplicity of that message, of the gospel message, and just holding that up. And you see that meet people when we did an album release, when the record came out at the beginning of March at our church, we had this young guy who's a student at Georgia State. He didn't know Jesus, lived a kind of crazy life in high school, was a football player in high school. Actually went to high school just down the street from my house. And but he met a family that circumstances allowed him to come to Passion, and it was at Passion that the gospel starts clicking with him, and he was processing that. He was experiencing the presence of God. A couple weeks after Passion, sitting in that family's living room, he gives his life to Jesus, joins a family group at Young Adults at Passion City Church, and his life literally looks different. I think that's the thing that we're seeing is like, it's not like, oh, I'm going to be part of the club or I'm going to come to church or like, it's literally, I've encountered the risen Savior of the world, and I can't be the same. So my life is going to go on a different direction now. And his is, so he gets up and he shares that, and then we end up baptizing him. And after that, Louis stepped up and he said, hey, maybe, you want to give your life to Jesus and you also want to get baptized. And so we put that opportunity out. So as we're singing these new songs, as we're singing these songs that God's been stirring at Passion, all that kind of stuff, people are literally going into the hallway, meeting with people from our team, and they're walking them through, making sure, do you believe in Jesus? Do you trust, want to follow, we ended up baptizing almost 50 people that night.
That's amazing.
And it was like, what was so awesome is we've never done it like this, but the church is just worshiping, and there's a baptism pool in the back. And as soon as somebody would go to get baptized, they'd put it up on the screen. So in the middle of the song,
people just
you would
scream.
just hear a roar of shout. And it was, it literally felt like heaven, of just like, we're celebrating. There's somebody else who gave their life to Jesus. There's somebody else who said yes to Jesus. There's somebody else who put it on display. And there's so many, I wish I could go into all the details, because there's so many things in the seams of, it's just so powerful when you see God transform somebody's life, and then that opens the door for him to change and transform somebody else's life too. And so anyway, that's just, and again, this is why it's a movement. It's God. It's not, and it's nothing that, Kristian and I or Louis Shelley it's the Spirit of God at work, and he's just moving through these gatherings, through the music, through the message, through people,
Yeah. Oh, so good. Well, I just, I'm grateful not only for Passion, but for the two of you, who were created for such a time as this, and I feel like I'm looking at you two, I know you, and in a season where there's a lot of division, where there's a lot of people that are confused, where there's a lot of, honestly, there's a lot of Christians that are not necessarily just talking about Jesus, but they're talking about things they hate. They're talking about that you two are for the kingdom, you're for Jesus, and you're just quite simply for people being free. And so I'm so grateful that you two are part of the team that is carrying this message forward. And I just love you both, man. This has been so good.
Love you, man.
We love you.
Love you. I hope that in 9 years, when I'm 50, I look half as good as you do.
Same.
Get out of here.
I'm not kidding. You look great. You look great.
Thank you, Brett. Thank you, Kristian. That was amazing. Friends, hey, make sure you head down into the show notes and click on the link to go stream and listen to Passion Music's brand new album. It's actually really profound, I believe. This record goes places and does things in a spirit that maybe I haven't felt before. So it was really cool, and I'm super excited for you to listen. Thanks for hanging out with me on another episode of the Carlos Whittaker Podcast, and thanks for hanging out with me in the Denver International Airport. We'll see you guys next week.